Hello there, I am Sashi Sivaram Krishna and welcome to my course Macroeconomics, a Modern Money Theory Perspective. We are in part 1 of the course Macroeconomics and Money. In lecture 22, we will study the basics of reading a balance sheet. One of the most important tools that we use in modern money theory to understand the notion of money and monetary flows is the balance sheet. In this lecture, we will briefly see some of the basic principles underlying the construction of a balance sheet and how we could read a balance sheet easily. The balance sheet is nothing but a record of what an entity or a unit, an economic unit like an individual, a firm, a commercial bank, the central bank or the government owns, which are its assets, and what it owes, which are its liabilities. Here we see a very simple balance sheet of an individual, Sashi. The balance sheet includes on the left hand side, and this is a convention that we'll follow all through the course, on the left hand side we will have the assets, on the right hand side we have the liabilities of this entity. So the left hand side, the assets include both financial and physical assets. Cash is a financial asset and therefore it must appear as a financial liability in someone else's books of accounts. In this case, cash would appear as a financial liability in the books of accounts of the central bank. Car is a physical asset and therefore does not appear in anybody else's books of accounts. If you look at the liabilities consist of loans. This loan could have been taken from an individual by Sashi, so that it's a financial liability to Sashi, but it might be a financial asset to the person who has lent this amount to Sashi. So if Tom has lent the sum of 5,000 to Sashi, then it would appear as a financial asset in Tom's books, while in Sashi's books of accounts it appears as a financial liability. The net worth is nothing but the assets less liabilities of this entity. It appears as a financial liability because this is what Sashi the entity owes Sashi the person. So we must distinguish between Sashi the person and Sashi the entity. So in the balance sheet of Sashi the entity, it appears as a liability because it has to, this amount here of 30,000 belongs to Sashi the person. Solvency implies a positive net worth, which means assets must exceed the liabilities of this entity and therefore you have a positive net worth. Insolvency or bankruptcy implies a negative net worth. So in this case here, you can see that the total assets of Sashi are 35,000, whereas his liabilities are 50,000, the loan, and therefore net worth is what we call as a negative net worth of 15,000. So this is a situation of bankruptcy or insolvency. Sashi the person should not owe Sashi the entity money. It should be the other way. Sashi the entity, as you can see in the balance sheet, must owe this amount to Sashi the person. Only then can we say the entity is solvent. So this is one of the most fundamental tools that we'll be using throughout this course to understand money in a better way and in a much more simple as well as logical way. And we will explain some of the benefits of our approach.